Corporation and your sports network.
Yeah, I've been closer to Jesus before, so can you help me out? Oh, can you help me out? Am I on my own? Am I on my own? Or can you help me out? Am I on my own? Am I on my own? Or can you help me out? Can you help me out? I've been scared to look in my soul. I've been afraid I would follow the road. Yeah, afraid of the things I've been told.
Hello, everybody, and welcome inside a Thursday edition of Running Point, brought to you by Greenwood Chevrolet in Austintown. We got a real exciting Thursday planned for you. Anthony Hartwig alongside Ty Bartell. Want to remind everybody that the comments today are live on YouTube, Twitter, Twitch, and Facebook. Leave us a comment. Here's what we have on the docket today. Big Dog of the Valley winner, Sammy Kelly, joining us at the top of the show. She'll be here any minute. Also, we have an interview with DJ Williams. We're going to debut on the show. We did that off the air last night. Then, also Big Dog winner, by the way. Then at 12:45, Matt Britton, the head coach of the Mooney boys soccer team, will be joining us to preview their big matchup with Howland this evening. And then, after all of that, we have our in-depth football previews of our marquee matchups of Week 5. It's going to be a fun Thursday. Don't miss a minute of it as we continue today.
Yeah, it should be a real great Thursday as we get both big dogs, get to hear from both big dogs of the Valley for week number 1, as well as preview some very marquee football matchups this week.
And joining us right now off the top is going to be the Week 1 winner of Big Dogs of the Valley on the volleyball section, and Sammy Kelly from Lowville. Sammy, how are you doing today?
Good. How are you?
We are good. Thank you so much for joining us today.
Anytime. Thank you for having me.
Big Dog of the Valley winner. Before we get into the rest of the interview, how did it feel to know that your community and your fans and the Lowville community backed you up and put so many votes up for you to win this Week 1 Big Dog of the Valley?
Oh, it was great. It just felt good coming as a smaller school and winning. I just want to thank my family, especially my Uncle Rick, and just my teammates and my friends, and everyone who voted.
I think it's no doubt that what you can do filling up the box score is why you've earned this Big Dog of the Valley honor. So I have to ask you, with your ability to dig and set as well as kill and what you're able to do all over the place, what is your favorite part of volleyball? Or what do you like doing the most? Is it the digging aspect, setting, kills? What is your favorite part of volleyball? Because you're pretty good at everything.
Thank you. My favorite part would probably be killing it, just because the adrenaline after you get a good kill, it's just awesome.
I mean, you came into this season, and obviously Lowville lost a lot of seniors last year, and I'm sure you had conversations with the coaching staff about how much responsibility was going to be put on your shoulders this year and how much leadership they were going to count on you for. Did that excite you, coming into this season, knowing that you were going to play a big role in the success of the Rockets this year?
Yeah, absolutely. I was just excited to share that role with my other seniors, which are all my best friends, Cadence Marsh, Sam Moore, and Haley Cutter. I think we all do a pretty good job of contributing to the team, and I like having that role, trying to pump up our team and stuff like that.
Talk about these group of seniors while just to segue to it. What's it like getting to lead with them? And like you said, they're your best friends. So talk a little bit about them and what leadership you guys bring to the team.
It's awesome because we all contribute different things. So I set, hit, and dig. So I'm mainly focused on setting with my other setter, Frankie Lilio, and the JV girls. And then Haley hits. So she just pumps up like the middles and blocking and stuff like that. And our Sammy Moore, she's our libero, so she digs and she like controls the back row. And Cadence Marsh is back there with her, helping her out.
Talk to me a little bit about your senior experience too, and reflect on that a little bit. Reflect on Lowville as a community, reflect on your high school experience, and reflect on your high school volleyball experience for me.
So senior year, I'm just glad that COVID hasn't interrupted it yet, and I hope it doesn't. But so our community has had our back this year, especially. Our student section's probably been the biggest I've ever seen, and that like turns us up. I feel like it gives us a nice little thing to fall back on, especially at home games. But senior year's been good. We have been in school since the beginning, and I'm just glad I can be here learning and still be playing volleyball and go and cheer for the football team and just everything like that.
You know, you bring up the student section. I did the game last week, and all of a sudden I see a bunch of students showing up in beachwear and hula shirts and things like that. I mean, not only do you get a student section that's big, they take some time to make themes and really get into this Lowville volleyball team. What does that mean to you guys, knowing that your students and the student body is fully behind you every time you have a home match?
It's really it's nice because our seniors, we created the themes for the student section, and we just left it up to them to see if they would show up and if they would follow the themes, just to get everyone like together and pumped up. And they did. And I was a little surprised, but it's been good so far. And I hope it continues to be like that.
Talk to me a little bit about the younger players on the team. You could take the time to shout them out if you want to, but I mean, this is obviously a very senior-led group. But talk to me about some of the younger players that are coming along and stepping up for the team as well.
Yeah, we have, I believe, 2 freshmen that are on varsity. Hadessa Rivera, she's back row, and she didn't start out as a starter, but she worked her way to that position, which I think she is amazing. She's actually going to play as our libero for tonight because Sammy Moore will not be there. And she's stepping into that leadership role as a freshman, which I think is outstanding. And then Ariana Romano, she's our middle. She's our other middle. She started. She came up. She has worked her way from blocking. She's really worked on that, which I think is great. And Haley's been working with her. And I just think they're improving so well. And even the JV girls, they're just all improving. And I've been to a couple of the junior high practices, and they've honestly, for a junior high team, this like 7th grade, they're pretty good. So I can't wait for them to come up.
And we have to talk about kind of the monkey in the room, because Josh Kelly, head coach, and you call him dad too. Talk about that dynamic and what it's like, not just being coached by an amazing volleyball coach, but also someone that you get to go home with.
It has its perks, but also has its disadvantages. It's great because he holds me to a higher standard, and I love that. And but it sucks because I feel like I don't want to disappoint him. So if we lose, or like if I make a mistake, I just get real hard on myself. But I know next time he'll always instruct me to fix something, and it's easy to listen to him.
Talk to me and preview this matchup a little bit tonight that you got going on with the Springfield Tigers too. This looks to be a good matchup between 2 teams that are very similar, it seems like, this year as far as where they are in the volleyball programs. Springfield got the first shot in the football realm. It's time for you guys to respond. So what are you looking forward to tonight?
Yeah, absolutely. I feel like this is a pretty hype game. We went to 5 sets with them the first time we played them, and we didn't come out with a dub, but I'm feeling it for tonight because I feel like even though our football team didn't come out with a W, it doesn't matter. I think we're going to redeem them, and we're just going to come out and push hard.
From the other perspective, you said about going to Friday night football games, and now we're allowed to do that. Students are allowed to go to the games now. What's it been like getting back to Friday Night Lights and being able to not just support the football team, but support all the other athletes in this community of Lowville that is so tight-knit?
It's been great. I know last year we played at Struthers because it was a bigger facility. Now we're playing at our home field, So it's good for especially like the cheerleaders, and I know the band. I'm in the band too, so it's nice coming and having a big crowd, especially even though because of COVID and everything. It's nice that everyone's still here to support everyone.
Using just one word, describe to me the team culture in Lowville.
I would say family.
Okay, now you're obviously joining us in the middle of the school day. What's your favorite school subject this year, and what do you think has been some of the teachers that have really impacted you throughout your high school career?
I would say my favorite subject would be probably econ, just because we're learning a lot about everyday stuff, and like that's actually going to help me for when I get out of high school. But the teachers that probably have contributed to my success and stuff like that would be Miss Irusi, Miss Patchner. She retired last year, so I only had her for like 1 year. I wish I had her again, but and then Mr. Solak. I feel like those teachers really push you just to be like a better student, and honestly better in your like sports too, because they really care about that stuff too.
We obviously want you to take in your entire senior experience and your entire high school experience for what it is this year, and obviously enjoy every second of it. But I guess the big question is now, what is Sammy Kelly, what is this rocket going to voyage on to do after her senior year of high school?
Right now I'm undecided. I don't know where I want to go. I have been in between sports medicine and like nursing, and that's like facility, or like, you know what I mean. I don't know what I want to do yet, but I'm trying to figure that out as we go along.
There's a lot of people that don't know there's people in college that don't know what they want to do yet, so don't worry about it.
But let's try to narrow it down a little bit. Do you want to travel far away from home, or are you someone that wants to stay a little bit closer to home?
I would probably say I would stay closer to home. I'm really tight with my mom and my dad, so it'd be hard to leave.
As obviously, we're so excited to have you on, and we want to congratulate you too on your Big Dog of the Week honors. I mean, what you've done too for the Lowville volleyball program, it's been absolutely incredible. You guys are right around that 500 mark, maybe going to be right back at that 500 mark, hopefully tonight with a good competitive game versus the Springfield Tigers. I guess my final question for you too, and it's a question I kind of try to ask everyone: what has been your favorite part of your senior year to this point so far?
My favorite part would probably be volleyball, just because that's the sport I'm in currently. It would honestly just be because we have a really solid team this year, and I think as soon as we all start gelling more and just all have each other's backs, I think we're gonna really shine, and I think it's gonna be better than years past.
Before we let you go, just what would be some advice that you would give to players that are going to be coming into this program in the next couple of years as you leave it?
You're going to have your ups and downs, but you can't let like a loss define you. You're just going to have to come back the next game and win it.
Sammy, thank you so much for joining us today in the middle of the school day. We definitely appreciate it. Have a great rest of the day of school, and good luck tonight against Springfield.
Thank you.
Sammy Kelly, the senior captain, missed do everything for Lowville, Big Dog of the Valley winner. We are so proud to be joined by her. What can you say? I mean, like I said, she's doing everything for that team. She digs, she sets, and when she's in the front row, she attacks too.
Are you surprised that her favorite part of senior year is volleyball to this point? I mean, for how good she is, too. I wasn't expecting much different of an answer, but I was curious, so I figured I'd throw that one out there. But no, obviously, as you could tell, very, very humble girl, and you got to credit a lot of that to Coach Kelly, too, and what he's done with her, working with her closely. I mean, they've done a really good job, and you could tell, and it's paid off over the years because very talented over there in Lowville.
What I love about Lowville, and she said it, they put up a student theme, not knowing whether or not the student section would follow it or what the outcome would be. And the students have taken it and run with it, because I was at Lowville last week and they kept with the theme and they were rocking in the Rockets Dome. So props to the Louisville community and the student body for backing up the volleyball team. We love to see it.
Yeah, absolutely. When you have good student support such as that, too, it really makes things a lot easier, too, when you're trying to sit out there on the court and compete when you have a large student section behind you every step of the way. It gets the energy up in the gym, and it really just gets you pumped up for big games.
That was one side of last week's Big Dog of the Valley, but we have another because last night, me and Ty were able to catch up with the football winner, DJ Williams from Austintown Fitch. So we're going to debut his interview here on Running Point, hear from DJ Williams after his win in week 1 of Big Dogs of the Valley. Hello, everybody. Anthony Hartwig, Ty Bartell here with a YSN edition of the Player Profiles. We are joined by Austintown Fitch sophomore DJ Williams. DJ, thank you so much for taking the time to join us today.
Yes, sir. Anytime.
DJ, I think the first question I want to go over with is obviously your health and how you stand. I know getting roughed up a little bit in that game with the Ursuline Irish. I know that one was physical. How are you doing health-wise, and are we expecting to see you back on the field this season?
Yes, this season you should expect for me to be back on the field. I had a little minor ankle injury versus Ursuline last Friday night. I'm probably going to sit out this week, but I'll be back next week for surely.
You won Big Dog of the Valley this week in our first edition. I just want to ask right off the bat, what does it mean to you that the Fitch community and the Fitch fans got on and voted so much and helped you kind of win the first week of Big Dogs of the Valley?
It was a great feeling, because I saw how many votes it was. It was a couple 10,000 votes, and it was just like a great feeling to know a lot of people are behind me and support me for what I do on the football field.
The game you most notably got this recognition for was for the Canton-McKinley game. You had 3 touchdowns and a huge winning effort against a Division I Canton-McKinley team. This is a Fitch team that we know is a pass-heavy offense. Talk to me a little bit about, with a combination of you and Tyree Mitchell really upping the ground attack this year, how much does that mean for this Fitch offense to have 2 solid, capable runners like they do right now?
It's a great feeling because our coaches have faith in me and Tyree to run the ball, and he has faith in our O-line also, and we became a pretty good team running the ball.
That was also a game where you guys got to play on that Hall of Fame stadium field, and obviously you put the performance up. What did it feel like to play on that field that that professional athletes get to step on and to just play in that atmosphere?
It felt great, like the big stands, the lights. When the lights came on, it's just a different feeling. And then playing at the Hall of Fame stadium, like you said, professionals play there. Hopefully I can get there one day. So I have to have my best game.
I think one of the most impressive things about you is your resistance to being tackled. And as a sophomore, some incredible strength and a good blend of strength and speed. Talk to me a little bit about your off-season workout regimen. Was this something you really tried to put in and building strength and putting weight on to try to make yourself, I guess, more bulky and a harder takedown target, I guess, for defenders when they're coming at you?
Yeah, in the off season, when football season is over, I train pretty hard. I'm trying to put on pounds of muscle so I get bigger and prepare myself for the next football season.
DJ, this is such a dynamic Fitch offense with so many stars and so many weapons to kind of help hurt you. What's it like being a part of such a unit and knowing that from the O-line to your quarterback to your receivers and to the running back room, everybody can just go out and really execute their job?
It's a pretty good feeling because when we go on Friday night, we're pretty confident that we know they can't shut down everybody on our team. We have multiple threats, so it helps.
So, I mean, obviously unable to play this week against Cardinal. Mooney, you said you're probably going to sit out. We know, though, the next one on the docket is that big home matchup with Massillon, Washington. If we're expecting to see you back on the field, any warnings you want to give to the Washington defense about if you got the ball in your hands? Issue a little bit of warning if they try to go to tackle you.
Nah, it'll be no warning. The film can show what it shows. I don't need to talk. I let my game talk on Friday.
Let's talk about TJ Parker because we love talking to him so much. What's it like being coached by him and this coaching staff?
I love Coach Parker. I love all our coaches. They push us to the max, and they didn't want nothing for the best for us.
And I know you're big on letting your game talk, DJ. So I guess the biggest thing is, for as much success as you've had as a sophomore already, I mean, there's still, I think, so much room to your potential, and I don't think you're even at your peak or your ceiling yet. What is it in your specific game that you'd like to see yourself improve on over the next couple seasons with the Falcons?
I gotta get better at my pass blocking for sure. Even though I don't be in pass blocking that much, I gotta work on it, and my catching too. And just get better at the little things like my footwork, all that. There's always room to improve.
Take us through kind of the team conversations this week. Obviously, the tough loss against Ursuline. What have been kind of some of the things that you guys are doing this week to try to bounce back and wash that loss off for this week against Mooney?
Versus Ursuline, when we watched the film, we just had a lot of mental mistakes out on the field. So film has been pretty heavy this week, and we just been getting right with the little things. It's always the little things that matter, and it'll help us for Mooney on Friday.
I mean, we know Big Dog of the Valley is a huge honor, and seeing how many people voted for you, but we also know no great back is as great without a great line in front of them. So take the moment to just shout out your guys on the offensive line. I know you credited them a little bit earlier, but this is your chance to kind of give a little bit of creds to the guys that are helping block out in front of you.
Yeah, shout out to all my O-linemen, Jack Knight, Colin Moore, Chris King, Rocco Odom, Jacob Jones. Who else am I forgetting? Our tight ends, Brian Robertson, Sam Moxley, Josh Fitz. I appreciate all of them. Without them, I wouldn't be able to run the ball.
DJ, before we let you go, I want to have some fun and talk about what are some of the things that really pump you up for a Friday night. Do you have, a playlist that you listen to or things that really get you really jazzed up for a game on Friday night?
For Friday night, I just be focused because I don't like losing. So I want to go out there with the mentality that we have to win. My playlist, I probably listen to some Lil Uzi, probably Drake and all of them. I don't know, I just get in the zone.
My final question for you two. I mean, obviously, like we know that you're unable to play this week, but I guess the overarching question is now that you have a Big Dog of the Valley under your belt now, and you got the votes tallied, that performance against McKinley earned you the honors. How many more of those performances are we expecting to see from DJ Williams in his career at Fitch?
You should expect almost every game. I got to be consistent. Consistency is key. If I'm not consistent, then that one game don't matter. You can say it's a fluke game, but if I'm consistent every week, you can't say it's no fluke. So you should expect that almost every game from me.
DJ, thank you so much for taking the time to talk with us today. Congratulations on everything you've accomplished, including the Week 1 Big Dog of the Valley winner on the football side of things. We love talking to you, and I'm sure we're going to talk to you again throughout your career.
Yes, sir.
That was our conversation with Big Dog of the Valley winner, DJ Williams from Austintown Fitch. Ty, what were some of your takeaways from that interview?
I mean, just a very humble young man is what DJ Williams is. And I mean, as he tells you, he's not one that has a lot of words. I mean, he's not one that's for much words. He's for a lot of what he does on the football field. So, yeah, for him to take the time out of his very busy day and even interview with us, we always appreciate that because we know it's more or less not his speed as much. He much rather just perform on the football field. But, when you win Big Dog of the Valley, we got to get you some TV time or some, I should say, internet time. Get you some camera time on it. But I mean, honestly, what this young man is doing, like I said, a very good blend of power and speed, hard to take down, very fast when he turns on the engines, and for only being a sophomore back. And what you hear from him, consistency is the key. And I mean, there's so much more potential to how much better he can get. And he's already been consistent to this point as a sophomore. I think the ceiling is limitless for DJ Williams right now.
I love that you gave him the opportunity to pump his chest a little bit, and he just sidestepped you. Like,
I try. I mean, I like it too, because I mean, some players will buy into it, some players will do it. I love it too. I love it because some players are. It's all about a character thing. It's a character question, and I mean, there's nothing wrong with it because I've had Deshaun Vaughn. I've asked him too when they went off to go play Canton McKinley after he won Player of the Game with that 3 interception against Cheney. I asked him, did he have any warnings for Canton McKinley? He flat out looked at the camera and said, "Don't throw the ball at us." And I mean, like, that's the stuff I love though too. Like, I love both sides of it. I just love to see where these athletes' character lies and everything, and where they are. And I love both sides of it too, just because I love how different personalities mesh in sports.
You know, we love talking to our Big Dog of the Valley winners. We talked to both of them here this week. We're going to continue to try to get them on the show as Big Dogs goes on. Want to remind everybody that this week's edition of Big Dog of the Valley still live, and voting ends Saturday at midnight. Let's take a minute to check what the voting numbers is, because we're trying to keep an eye on these things. And we sent the challenge to YSN Nation to do better than last week. So let's just pull up Big Dogs and take a look at what the vote totals are right now. Let's see. For volleyball, we have a total right now of
55,000 plus votes. Are you kidding me right now?
That beats last week.
Absolutely.
Football, we're at 20.
They're right there. 65,000. We were at what, 66, 68 last week?
Right.
They're at 65,000, and they have all of today, all of tomorrow to vote.
Mm-hmm.
Oh my goodness, it's good. I think they've done it, Anthony. I mean, we're not there yet, but I think they're. I think they're gonna get it. I think they're pretty good. They've started off 65,000 votes.
YSN Nation can't rest on their laurels. They have to be like, let's go.
Absolutely. Well, no, actually, I lied. My math brain is off. That's 75,000 votes, bud. They did it. They did it. That's 75,000 votes. They beat it.
Caveat: they beat the total, but football's still behind last week's total.
Football's still behind, and football, you need to be getting up too. I want to see an influx on Friday, but volleyball turning out huge too. 55,000 of the votes. Like
a lot of big programs on that volleyball list this week. I mean, East Liverpool proud volleyball, Beaver Local proud volleyball. So a lot of big time programs, and obviously Fitch. We
get out there. Get out there and vote. I mean, there's like you said, a wide range of athletes too, still up to 6-6 on each side. Get out there and have your voices be heard.
Yeah, not surprised at all. Once again, voting for a Big Dog of the Valley this week ends Saturday at midnight. We'll have the results Monday here on Running Point, and next week we will certainly do our absolute best to get both winners on the show at some kind of capacity, because we love talking to our Big Dog winners, and we love all the voting that goes into winning a Big Dog of the Valley. We're going to take our first break of the day, and on the other end, we'll kind of venture into the soccer realm as we preview Mooney and Howland with Mooney Boys Soccer head coach Matt Britton coming up at 12:45. Don't miss it. Running Point brought to you by Greenwood Chevrolet in Austintown.
New things happen all day. Some are good, some not so good. In today's complicated world, while you're busy working, playing, and living life, we're busy helping you make sense of the day's news. And there's only one place where it comes together with clarity, context, and accountability. It's 21 News at 6 with me, Madison Tromler, and Derek Steyer.
21 News at 6. It's what the day's news really means to you.
Welcome home to a home made homier with Baird Brothers Fine Hardwoods. Inspiration starts at BairdBrothers.com and is turned into reality when high-quality hardwoods are delivered right to your home. Baird Brothers has the latest design trends, shiplap and skinny lap interior siding, antique oak rustic flooring, and, well, you'll find them all at BairdBrothers.com. Ordered easily, delivered conveniently, enjoyed comfortably. BairdBrothers.com.
At Greenwood Chevrolet, shop with confidence knowing we're ready to go the extra mile for you. With the largest selection of used vehicles in the Valley, backed by the Greenwood Advantage Warranty. Every one of our vehicles has undergone our own 126-point inspection, so it passes the most important inspection, yours. No other dealership has the extra inventory, gives you extra for your trade, and goes the extra mile for you. Only at Greenwood Chevrolet.
WRS Wealth Advisors, the area's premier wealth and retirement specialists. Located on South Avenue in Boardman.
Quality, customer service, and integrity. Those are the 4 words that have driven our success since 1957 at Joe Dickey Electric.
Joe Dickey Electric is one Mahoning Valley landmark business that stays current with the requirements of our customers. Family owned and managed, we are an electrical contractor and energy solutions provider. Every member of our team adds to his or her skill set through ongoing training. Residential, commercial, industrial, automotive, and more. We keep ahead of the needs of our customers with a fleet of more than 50 vehicles and 24/7 emergency service, so you're never left in the dark.
When looking for home design inspiration, don't just be inspired, be Baird inspired. Whether new or remodeling, Baird Brothers has the latest trends like shiplap to refresh your home. Go from inspiration to installation with our wide selection of in-stock American hardwoods. From the rustic charm of antique oak to the warmth of traditional cherry, Baird Brothers has what you need to make your home inspiring. Baird Brothers, our family's heritage, your family's home.
For a great vehicle and a great experience, come to Boardman Mitsubishi today. As always, our full lineup of Mitsubishi models comes with a standard 10-year, 100,000-mile powertrain warranty. Boardman Mitsubishi, your hometown Mitsubishi dealer since 1999.
Coca's Pizza, always supporting our community and our local athletes. Stop in on game day or score big and have it delivered right to your door. Check out our daily specials at cocaspizza.com. That's Coca's Pizza. We serve it hot.
At Hubbard Chevrolet, Hubbard can help you get the financing you need regardless of your situation. I'm Tony Page, and I've helped thousands of customers in Northeast Ohio and Western Pennsylvania buy a vehicle. Visit HubbardChevy.com to get pre-approved. Remember, folks, Hubbard can help.
You're not waiting to see what the world has in store for you. It's more about what you have in store for the world. All you need is the opportunity. All you need are the resources of a large university and the advantages of a personalized academic setting where you can experience new worlds in the arts and sciences, business, and education and make them your own. We are where you shape your future. We are Youngstown State University and proud.
Welcome back to Running Point on YSNLive.com, brought to you by Greenwood Chevrolet in Austin Town. Hang on. Someone took away my there we go. Now we're looking good on the host cam is bringing Ty Bartell. We're getting ready for Matt Britton at 12:45 to help preview this Howland versus Mooney boys soccer game tonight. Before we get him on, let's go over some results from last night. Canfield girls soccer moved to 7-1 on the season. They beat Boardman 6-1. You look at the goals scored. Lauren Yeoman scored 2 for the Cardinals. Macy Tophorser, Ali Malinki, Hannah Wab, and no, that's it. Sorry, got ahead of myself. They all scored goals. The 6th goal for the Cardinals was a own goal by Boardman. So do the math. 4 people scored goals. Yeoman scored 2. She had an assist. So did Malinki and Sabrina Goodrich. They all had assists on the night. And Bayan Jadala, goalkeeper, 5 saves at the net for Canfield. Boardman's goal came from Ava Freeborough. Their goalkeeper, Faith Walton, had a busy night tie because Canfield outshot Boardman 29-6. So Faith did a really good job keeping Boardman in the game. 16 saves for her in front of the net, trying to slow down Canfield's barrage. I know it was 6-1, but with 29 shots on goal, it could have gotten a lot worse.
Yeah, and you know what? Canfield's defense just continues to be impressive too, not letting very many teams score on them at all. To another game, another instance of holding teams to one or less. It's just what Canfield's been doing all season long, and they haven't shied away from it up until this point. And we know with the Boardman girls program, usually a very good soccer program over there. But yeah, again, Canfield building up a very big powerhouse, it seems like right now.
Don't worry, we are very close to getting Coach Phil Simone on the network, on the show. Hopefully next week we'll be able to talk to him about Canfield girls soccer. The South Range girls continue to roll in the NE8. They get another win. They shut out Jefferson 7-0. 6 different Raiders scored goals on the night. Abby McCabe had 2 goals. And then you have goals from Devin Sourwine, Sydney Pennick, Samantha Suzanne, Gabby Lampardi, and Kylie McConnell. And then Kylie Crank had 1 save for the Raiders. So, you know, in the NE8, the Raiders roll. They've lost a couple of non-conference games against really good teams, but they seem to be dominating that conference.
Yeah, well, it'll be interesting to see after the season's said and done when we get into playoff time how South Range is going to compete against those non-conference teams, because that's been the biggest question about them. But inside of the NE8, they're as strong as ever.
A reminder, their non-conference opponents have been big schools, and they're Division III. So the Raiders, like a lot of other teams, gearing themselves up for Division III tournament by playing teams a little bit out of their division. They will return to action Monday, traveling to Girard, and they are 6-2 on the season.
Should be another great matchup too, and it's going to be one of the tougher tests, I think, for South Range inside of the NE8.
I'm looking forward to their second matchup with Poland. Seemed to be the only close match of the NE8 season so far.
It will be interesting to see, too, because we know that was a slugfest for them last time, too, and it just seemed like both teams, every time those two lock arms, it's always a slugfest in any sport, as we're expecting much of the same tomorrow night as well.
Salem stays undefeated. They have a 7-0, 7-0 win over Carrollton. The Quakers were look at the possession was strongly weighed towards the Quakers side. I couldn't find a word there, but they controlled the ball for most of the match, and obviously the score reflects that. Abby Perry had 2 goals. Riley Hutton had 2 goals. McKaylin Murphy and Hannah Guther and Abby Davidson all had goals as well. Abby Perry had 2 assists. And then you look at some other assists. Bianca, Gankars, Murphy, and each had 1 assist as well. The Quakers are now 8-0 on the season, 3-0 in the EBC. They will go to Springfield on Saturday for a non-conference matchup with the Tigers. That should be a fun one.
A lot of undefeated teams under the YSN banner for soccer, and no difference here with Salem, another very, very good team up into this point. Curious to see how they are in the second half of the season, though.
Fun one on Saturday. We talked to both coaches earlier on the show. Earlier in the season, I should say.
Yeah, I was gonna say. Well,
East Palestine gets their 6th win in a row on the volleyball court. They swept Cheney. And you look at the scores, 25-6, 25-11, 25-7. Berger got the player of the game. She had 19 points, 5 aces. Gia Bristelli, 4 digs, 3 kills, 1 point, and an ace. Mariah Zimmerman, 6 kills on the night. And Mackenzie Parker, 11 points, 7 aces, and 6 assists for the Bulldogs. CC Foster played a big role, 16 points, 5 assists, 3 aces for her. And then you have the Bulldogs at 7-2. They have a big match with Wellsville coming up on Thursday. Wellsville hasn't lost a EOAC matchup since Southern in 2017 beat them to end the season, actually, in the regular season, actually. So 3 straight seasons of undefeated volleyball plus and change for Wellsville. You do the math, 14 games this season, 14 times 3 is 42, 5 games so far this year, 47 straight EOAC wins for Wellsville. East Palestine looking to change that tonight.
East Palestine has a good chance too, and they're probably one of the few teams I think in the EOAC that really does have a chance at beating this very talented Wellsville team. And this Wellsville team, I think everybody in Wellsville wants 3 more to get 50 in a row. As I think when I look up too, I'm going to look up looking at the rest of Wellsville's volleyball schedule because I wasn't sure about it right off the rip. Looking at Wellsville's remaining volleyball schedule too and what they have left on the docket for this year, they have East Palestine, obviously, but I mean, coming up with Canton Central Catholic, Lisbon, Southern is twice too. I'm looking at the rest of their conference schedule, but I mean, Latonia's on there, Heartland, Valley, Southern, Latonia, and then of course this East Palestine game, but this East Palestine one being at home too, I mean, it's going to be a huge advantage, I think, for Wellsville. It's going to be interesting to see if the Bulldogs are able to come away with a big one.
It was a emotional night for East Palestine last night as well, as they were playing for a fallen teammate who got injured the night before, wasn't available, Alexis Robb. They all wore her jersey number on their wrists. We had the number on the top left corner of the screen during the game. So one of those nights where East Palestine playing for a little bit more than volleyball.
Yeah, and you love when you see those communities come together in bunches like that and support.
One more result to report from last night as LeBray gets a non-conference win. They beat Jackson Milton at home last night in 4 sets. The score is 25-15, 25-14, 21-25, 25-19. Riley McDonough and Summer Pumforty both had 11 kills for the Vikings. They both had double-doubles because McDonough finished with 11 digs and Pumforty finished with 13. They also combined for 7 aces. Ashley Monroe, 18 assists on the night for her. For the Vikings, Jackson Milton was led by Mia Greco, 8 kills for her. Grace Johns led the defense with 14 kills, and Paige Grope had 9 assists for the Blue Jays. LeBray returns to MVAC action tonight as they travel to Garfield, who's still undefeated on the season. Jackson Milton, they look to bounce back tonight. They travel to Mineral Ridge. Both should be very fun volleyball matches.
Yeah, those should both be very good volleyball matches, and they should be both very key matchups too in volleyball in our area under the YSN banner too. So part of a lot of good matchups that we have this week, as well as some good matchups going into next week. So just stay tuned to the network.
And Garfield will be trying to keep pace with Crestview as they're both undefeated. And if Garfield can, then that eventual matchup between the two in Crestview later in the season will be a big one, because remember that the first one got canceled because of COVID protocol. So unless it got rescheduled, it'll be the only matchup between Garfield and Crestview on the season. So could be a very big one for Crestview.
Very well. Very well, as we're looking forward to that big matchup.
If they're able to keep pace. So joining us on the show right now, though, Matt Britton, head coach of Cardinal Mooney boys soccer. We get to have him on again, Coach. Thank you for joining us today.
Oh, no, thank you for having me on.
big matchup tonight, and we got you on to preview it. Up and down season for you guys so far, 2-2-2, but you have a really tough schedule, and we previewed that before the season. Talk about some of the things you've seen from your boys so far this year.
Yeah, like you said, we haven't started as strongly as we would have liked. We've struggled towards the start, but we always knew. And when I was on the last time, I said we were gonna struggle a little bit. We weren't gonna be as crisp as we were last year. There's a lot of youth, a lot of players playing in new positions, so we were gonna take some time to adjust. And it unfortunately it's taking a little longer than I would have liked, and as a team we would have liked. But the lights at the end of the tunnel, we're starting to come good, and no better team to challenge ourselves with against Highland than one of the best teams in the area.
Talk to me a little bit about what you've seen, though, as far as this adjustment period that you're going through. Talk to me about some positives you've seen and some overall positive takeaways that you have from the team and the younger players especially.
Definitely some positives with the younger players. It's that grind mentality that we talk about all the time, even though things might not be going our way, especially with the game that we had last Saturday against Western Reserve. We never quit, even though score might stay different. We never quit. We kept playing to the very end. So that's always a positive, especially with the younger players, that they don't get discouraged when things are going their way. They don't fall into just making the same errors over and over again. We're still trying to play, and that's the main thing right there, is that we're not getting down on ourselves. We just keep it going.
And when you're going through a stretch like this, I imagine the leadership and the captains also play a big role in keeping this team positive.
Yes. Yeah, and that was one of the big things. That was one of the massive voids we had to fill this year, was our leadership role, because we lost our leader last year. And Brian Philliman, he put the entire leadership on his back. So a lot of the kids that are stepping up now didn't have to do it. They didn't have any responsibilities leadership-wise, because Brian took care of everything. But it's also a benefit that he was here, because now they got to see what a true leader looks like. So they just have to, try and fill the shoes that he did, and they're doing a great job.
I don't want to wait any longer without trying to talk about this matchup with Howland, because I think it's one that everybody's excited for. I think there's no doubt, though, looking at this Howland team, Dylan DePiero has been one of the better players in the area as far as a constant goal threat anytime he is on the field. Talk to me about how you're going to have to try to contain him and at least keep an eye out for him on the field, because anytime the ball's at his legs, it always seems like there's a scoring threat.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, Dylan's a great player. Howland's full. And they always seem to have good forwards. They had Jordan and Gabe last year, and he's just filling in those shoes perfectly well. So, but defending him, it comes from the start. We have to pressure the ball in the midfield, and that's one of the keys we've been working on. We can't allow Howland to have the time on the ball to find his feet, because once the ball gets to his feet, a lot of the times it's too late. He's already beating the man, and it's one-on-one with the keeper after that. So it's going to start before the ball even gets to him. We're going to have to deny the ball to him, and we're going to have to press Howland high.
We talked now about how you're going to defend all the things that Howland can bring at you, but their defense also hasn't been scored upon this year. So from your offensive side of things, what kind of things do you think you can try to do to get the first goal on Howland of the season?
It's going to be nice to score the first goal against them this year. We're hoping we're able to bring that out tonight. Just offensive-wise for us, we have to keep the tempo. We have to keep the ball on the floor. We have to move it around, try and stretch their defense. Like you said, their defense hasn't been breached. It hasn't been tested much. So let's see if we can pin them behind the ball and put them under constant pressure for the full game. In games that we've found success this year, we've started early. So that's one of our goals coming into this game, is we want to get an early start on them, because like you said, they haven't been scored upon, and we're going to look at, they haven't lost a regular season game in the last 40. I think it's 40 straight regular season games that have gone without losing. So we want to get on them early and see if we can get some doubt in their minds.
Talk to me about the team, Mooney's team collectively, too. And we were a little bit close to halfway through the season, but talk to me about this upcoming second half of the season. And I guess just put into words for me and finish the sentence for me. Mooney will have a successful second half of the season if.
we'll have a successful second half of the season. If we're able to keep the intensity high, we're able to defend with the middle like we did last year. We had a midfield block that was pretty impenetrable throughout the entire season. We forced teams to play the ball long over top, and our defense just ate it up. So we have to get back to just that defensive pressure in the middle of the field. But that comes along. We graduated all of the midfield, so that comes to those young players just stepping up there. So as long as our younger players continue to grow as the season goes on, then we will be successful.
Obviously, winning tonight is the first goal. So that aside, what would you have to see from your team tonight to really feel good about the game and how it went when you go to bed tonight?
Obviously, you said winning would be the best thing, but no, I just want to see a competitive game. I want to see us give everything we have in the game. I want to see us try to stick to our DNA, stick to our fundamentals, and try to take the game to Highland. If Highland beats us, they beat us. All right. It is what it is in that situation, but I want to see if we can force Highland into a game that they're uncomfortable with. I want us to dictate the tempo. I want us to take the game to Highland.
Any dark horse candidates for players that are going to come up huge for you tonight, or that you're expecting to get some maybe playing minutes that we haven't seen, getting some, or maybe putting them into a bigger role?
Without selling the farm, because
I don't want to give all the secrets away tonight, but no, just say we're looking for some big minutes from a couple key subs that come off, because just the style that we play, our wingers are up and down the field, so they get gassed pretty easily, or not easily, but just the intensity that I expect them to play with. They need a breather every now and again. So it's just the subs that come in. Can we keep that same? Can we keep the intensity high?
With your schedule, and this is no disrespect to the teams in the area, but you're seeing teams that are just different than anything that you will see in Division III in the area come tournament time. How much do you think you're trying to really send that message to your kids? Because 2-2-2, when you look at it, can be demoralizing and oh man, we're getting beat or whatever. But man, you're playing teams that are really, really sharpening your tools for that Division III playoffs.
Absolutely. It's no secret that I prefer to play a strong schedule, because it's soccer in high school. Everyone makes the playoffs, so why not challenge yourself with the strongest possible schedule you can have? Because you're guaranteed. It's not like football; you're guaranteed to make the playoffs. So you got to go out and challenge yourself. You got to see what your team's made of. And you look at it. I think our first 6 games, we've played 4 Division I teams in Canfield, and then we've played Western Reserve Academy, it's a secondary school. I mean, they're technically ineligible through the Ohio High School Athletic Association because they allow 5th-year seniors. I think when we played them, half of their starting lineup was over the age. I think they were over 19 or whatnot. So, and this is basically a college team. So we want to challenge ourselves with those opponents. So we're ready for whatever we see. And, that really helped us in our run last year.
I'm curious now on where Coach Britton's mindset and mentality is for the team. So if you can, talk to me about some coaches that were either in your life, or maybe some coaches that are in the professional ranks, but some coaching styles and philosophies that you've kind of brought into your own style and philosophy, and maybe some aspects from other coaches that you use for your own coaching culture.
And with that question, there's both the good and the bad. I've had a couple coaches that I've been like, I don't want to be anything like that person. I don't want to treat the players like that. I don't want to run my practices like that. I don't want to talk to people like that. So it's both good and bad. Like, my assistant coach was my high school coach. We have a relationship that goes all the way back to almost 15, 16 years ago. And he was a big influence on my coaching career. I tried just how he spoke to people, how he brought everyone in, just to build the team camaraderie, and just that ability to make everyone feel a part of something. And that's what I try to do, get the entire team to feel like they're a part of it. And a big influence of mine is obviously my favorite professional team's Liverpool. So Jurgen Klopp, and he kind of preaches the same mentality. Everyone comes together, whether it's with the fans, with the parents, everything's just one.
Before we let you go, we want to come kind of full circle and ask, what are the keys to victory tonight for you guys?
Keys to victory for us, obviously don't let Highland score. But no, Keys to victory would be we got to start early. We got to start. We can't afford to get behind early. So we have to come out of the gate. We have to play with intensity. We have to set the tempo right from the start. If we allow Howland to do that, then we're gonna be in trouble because that's not our strong suit. Like I said, the games that we've been successful in are the ones that we got to start early, and we were able to put our opponents behind the ball, and that's what we want to look to do to Howland tonight.
I like that. Don't let Howland score. That's a pretty big key. Pretty big key.
Yeah, that's gonna be tough. That's gonna be tough because they're such a talented team. They're so talented and they're so well coached. Brian does a phenomenal job.
Coach, thank you so much for taking the time to join us today and previewing this big matchup tonight. It's selected as the game of the night by the good people over at Steel Valley Soccer, so shout out to them and good luck against Howland, and we'll look to talk to you again real soon.
All right, thank you. I appreciate you for having me out again.
Matt Britton, head coach of the Mooney boys soccer team, joining us here on Running Point to once again preview that big matchup with Howland. And man, he's a friend of the show. We love having him on. He's just one of the good soccer coaches in the area.
You love talking to him too, and I mean, infectious. You could tell how passionate he is about the sport too, and how passionate he is about his kids. I mean, just like I said, an infectious guy to talk to, and that's why you want to try to dig a little bit deeper. And that's why I try to get a little bit deeper. I know we're on untimed constraints, but I could talk with Matt Britton. It feels like for hours.
I know. I mean, if we weren't on time constraints, we'd just be like, let's make it the Matt Britton show.
Yeah. Pretty much. I could definitely sit down and have a beer with Matt Britton, it seems like. But no, I mean, definitely one of those guys, though, that he definitely, Mooney has the right guy in the right position for that program. And going forward that he's definitely the guy that's going to, I think, he not only makes the team good as it is right now, but he always is striving to make the team better. And I think it's going to definitely help that team excel, especially how young they are. I think it's going to help.
That was the second time we've had him on the show, and I think it wouldn't be too wrong to say that we'll have him on again before the end of the season because, like we talked to him about, this Mooney team might be 2-2-2, but they're playing teams that don't even they're not even in the same stratosphere as some of the teams that they'll see in Division III. It's no offense, it's just reality that they're playing teams like Western Reserve Academy. That, like you said, fifth-year seniors are coming up. I'm wondering when he's going to play Bishop Sycamore, to be honest.
Yeah, honestly, I mean, you got change of twos here, but there's one thing that's for sure. They got the number one schedule, I think, in all of the area right now, and that's no doubt. So with all the twos on their record, you look at their schedule was number one. So they're doing it against a very tough opponents. And I mean, if they could continue, I mean, what you might see as maybe lackadaisical, maybe a mediocre start of the season, I think for Mooney and their standards with their age of their team and the schedule that they have, I consider that a successful start of the season, a successful first 6-game stretch.
They opened the season with Berea Mid Park, and they're playing Howland tonight, and then their next game is against Ottawa. I mean,
just powerhouse after powerhouse. I mean, just scheduling up.
No one in Division III in the area is putting together a schedule like this. So they're going to be one of the favorites for the district, that's for sure. And they obviously went all the way to the state championship game last year. So we're keeping a close eye on Mooney no matter what their record is.
Oh, absolutely. But I mean, at the same point, you can't discredit the Howland Tigers and the program they have over there too. I mean, we gotta give all the props to Howland and what they've been able to do over the regular season too. Like you said, on 40 straight plus victories, regular season victories. I mean, it's absolutely insane. It seems like nobody is ready for the Tigers.
And just to go over what Howland's season looks like here. Like I said in the interview, they've been unscored upon. And they, let's see, 4, that's 12, 15, 16, 19. They've outscored teams so far in 7 games, a total of 26-0.
That's unbelievable defense, though. And I mean, that goes back to what Howland does. And I mean, you look at DePietro, I mean, he's got a boatload of those scores, too. I believe including 2 on his opening game this season. I mean, going into his senior year, part of that huge Howland offensive attack that they have, but also part of that huge defense that Howland has as well. I mean, it is such a complete soccer team that it is going to be hard for any of the area teams to really compete with them, let alone anybody in their division come tournament time to come up and try to compete with them. It just, like I said, it seems like nobody is ready for Howland when they come into town.
Yeah, and you talked about their main
DePietro. Dylan DePietro.
He's got 6 goals on the year so far in 7 games. And then 5 other guys have 1. You look at
DePiero. I'm sorry, DePiero, not DePietro. DePiero. ERO at the end, not a T.
28 total goals, 28 total saves so far for their goalkeeper, Zach Lewis. So 28 saves in 7 games. That's a lot. Averaging 7 saves per game. So
it's insane. I mean, but that is also showing you that there's not a whole lot of shots on goal even at that point too. So it's showcasing that even the shots that they are getting at goal, they ain't getting past anybody. Allen is just a defense too, where it's hard to even get a shot on goal, let alone get a goal on them. So it's going to be interesting to see what Mooney can bring, because they are definitely, I think, the most tested team that has faced Howland this season.
It's almost unfair because the front line of their defense is so good, and then if you do get past it, they have Zach Lewis back there.
Yeah, so I mean, they are definitely an all-around type of team, and it's going to be interesting. Like I said, Mooney is definitely the most battle-tested team that they've had to face, I think, to this point this season.
Just to put in reference, we'll look at the teams that Howland has played so far. They beat South Range 4-0. Their first 3 games were all 4-0. They beat Aurora 4-0. They beat Hubbard 4-0. Then they beat Fitch 3-0. They beat Canfield 3-0. They beat Warren Harding 3-0, and then they beat Lakeview 7-0. The couple of opponents that go both ways for this matchup tonight. We saw, obviously Howland played. Excuse me. Howland played Harding and beat them 3-0. Mooney beat them 4-1. Pretty similar, right? I mean, you look at that. You look at Howland already beat Fitch, and Mooney tied them 1-1. So, but Howland beat Fitch 3-0. So it wasn't like a runaway. All signs point to a pretty competitive soccer match tonight.
It should be pretty competitive, and I mean, the biggest thing, like Coach Britton said, you can't let Howland score first, and you can't get down early on him, because if you are down early and you have to play against that defense now, with them being up, it's going to be a lot harder. You want it to stay even. I mean, you want to go again, stay even the whole time. If you're Mooney, stay even until you can get a lead. You can't let Howland have the advantage on you.
At some point, Mike Bailey is going to be asking us for like a quarter every time we say that.
I know. He loves that. I love it though. I love it. I love that Mike Bailey too. I mean, we credit him too. I will credit Mike Bailey every single time I use that quote. It's a fantastic quote though. It's simple.
By the way, our partners over at Storm Tracker 21 forecast tonight looks absolutely amazing. There's no excuse not to get out to that soccer game. At kickoff, it's going to be 79 and sunny. So
beautiful weather too before it starts cooling off here in the fall. Go out and catch a game if you haven't yet this season.
Yeah, absolutely. No excuse not to. We're going to take a break, and on the other end, we will dive into our in-depth previews of our marquee matchups here on Running Point, brought to you by Greenwood Chevrolet in Austintown.
Every customer has a story, and at Greenwood Chevrolet, we are committed to making sure it ends with you in the right vehicle. I get to be part of somebody's adventure, whether it's buying a car for the first time, helping them get approved, or finding the perfect car for their budget. I'm proud that people trust me with their finances. They trust me to take care of them, and they trust me with their story. I'm Tracy, and I'm ready to go the extra mile for you, only at Greenwood Chevrolet.
Working with your family can be stressful at times, but because they're family, you know that you're going to get a loving, honest answer, even when things don't make sense to any problem. Dealing with Medicare can be confusing and overwhelming. That's why here at Myers Family Insurance, we do our best to give you honest and caring answers to all of your questions. Family, like Medicare, isn't always perfect, but when you put others first, the results can be amazing.
For all your Medicare needs, call Myers Family Insurance.
It's storm season.
I think we're under the gun for some heavy storms over the next couple of hours.
And Storm Tracker 21 is ready.
This is probably the one we're keeping a closer eye on.
On air,
And locally, we're going to have a lot of eyes on our area.
online,
All right, let's talk high-risk futurecast and the timing of this weather.
on social media, and on our app.
Notice we'll have scattered showers on Thursday.
Stay ready with Storm Tracker 21.
The severe weather threat now through around sunset this evening.
Hi, this is Tommy Clem, owner of WRS Insurance Solutions.
WRS Insurance Solutions is a local independent agency that specializes in life, Medicare, long-term care, and disability products. Call us at 330-953-3722 or visit us at wrsinsurancesolutions.com to learn more.
Good luck to all the student athletes in the Valley.
Hi, I'm Colin Chupa. And I'm Kelsey Clem from K-Squared Marketing. Our boutique marketing firm specializes in media planning and buying, public relations, event marketing strategies, and strategic sponsorships. We can integrate our services with your existing game plan, or we can be your entire marketing team. Your goals, our game plan. Let's win together. Call K-Squared Marketing at 330-623-2730 or visit ksquared.marketing to learn more.
Jimmy Sutton here, Director of Isle, Purple Cat, and Golden String. We are happy to support YSN and two of my favorite people, Scotty Mincher and Super Dave O'Malley. We are an agency that provides services for adults with disabilities. We infuse humor, passion, and joy into their lives. If you know of any folks with disabilities that need our assistance, please contact us.
Your teams work hard and give it all they've got. Well, so does ours, because 21 Sports and YSN give you extra effort when covering local sports. 21 Sports and YSN, winning coverage of our Valley's teams.
Planning a project around your home or rental property? Trust the electrical service to the local experts with 62 years of serving the Mahoning Valley. Joe Dickey Electric is your local go-to source for responsive, reliable residential electrical work. From everyday maintenance and repairs to new installations, electrical upgrades, and safety inspections, no job is too big or too small. Call Joe Dickey Electric today, 800-549-3976, or visit DickeyElectric.com. That's DickeyElectric.com.
Dealing with Medicare can be confusing and overwhelming. That's why here at Myers Family Insurance, we do our best to give you honest and caring answers to all of your questions. Family, like Medicare, isn't always perfect, but when you put others first, the results can be amazing.
Welcome back to Running Point on YSNLive.com. We're venturing through this Thursday as we have talked to Sammy Kelly. We've heard from DJ Williams, and we've also talked to Matt Britton. And now as we get done with that, we venture into football, and tomorrow is week 5, and we have a handful of matchups that we want to dive in depth with that me and Ty have picked as marquee matchups for week 5. And Ty, I think we should start with what could be the best defensive matchup of the week in Cheney versus Canfield.
Yeah, I think this is going to be a really good matchup. We talked about how Cheney and Canfield are both teams that have such size and speed and are both very athletic. I kind of give a little bit of an edge in the athleticism department to Cheney, with the skill level positions going to Canfield. So that's why this match makes it very, very interesting, I think, coming off of this week. Both teams coming off of big wins, both teams looking great defensively last week. Of course, Cheney winning against St. Charles and a final score of 22-3. We all know what Canfield did to New Philadelphia. That was by a final score of 35-0. We know Toby Smith ending up with a big touchdown too in that game, as he's being utilized on offense and defense. Big defensive force too is Toby Smith on defense for Canfield. But also, I mean, Brock Lowry's been a huge part of this Canfield offense at quarterback as well, doing a fantastic job in and out. Of course, you know what Michael Crawford does too for them as well. This is a very good Canfield team that is going to be able to beat you over top, but they can also beat you with their legs. They're able to do so many things so well, and really to beat them, you're going to have to play the style of defense that Cheney does play, that physical, in-your-face style, and you have to make sure Brock Lowry is contained, I think, the entire time. As well as Cheney, we know what they have too on that defensive line is very, very impressive, and that's part of why that they were so good, I think, last year. And it was a defense that allowed less than 20 points per game. You're bringing pretty much everyone back. We talked about having J.R. Tellington that plays both ways. You have Clive Wilson and you have Jawan Freeman, 3 guys on the defensive line, not to mention Christian Jones as your big linebacker too, but 3 guys on that defensive line. Christian Jones filling in the holes at linebacker. It's going to spell nightmares for this Canfield team trying to run the ball. And those 3 defensive linemen, in conjunction with Christian Jones, I think are going to be tasked with running a lot of contained plays. You can't let Brock Lowry beat you with his feet. He's going to have to beat you with his arms. And, you know, that might be the place where you see Brock Lowry going to attack. Jason Hewlett, of course, down and out for the season. He was the quarterback. He was also a very good defensive back for them, too. And, Delshawn Petrosky, their quarterback and defensive back last year, no longer there as well. So you're really looking at the secondary of Cheney, and that's where I expect Canfield to try to attack a lot, because I don't see them getting much success getting yards on the ground. I feel like that's just going to be a war zone the entire night, and I feel like where Canfield's going to have their successes through the air, but Cheney, it's up to them to counter that with some very good secondary play. And if they can get pressure with just those 3 defensive linemen that I mentioned earlier, of course, again, Clive Wilson, Jawan Freeman, and J.R. Tellington, if these 3 guys themselves are able to get pressure on that offensive line of Canfield, get pressure on Lowry, I think Cheney will have a great chance of coming away victorious in this one. But I think it's up to Canfield. If they can get rid of the ball quick and Brock Lowry can get the ball to his receivers out in space and attack that Cheney secondary, I think it might be a long night for Cheney. It all depends on, I think, that front line and what Cheney can do with that defensive line.
And this is a Cheney defense that has given up, 10 points in the last 2 games?
10 points in the last 2 games. No more than 1 score in the last 2 games.
I mean, it's going to be a battle. I mean, I don't want to bring up dark moments of Canfield's past, but Dover has proven that, it is possible to slow down this offense. I think Cheney's probably watching that game film a lot and seeing what Dover did that was so successful and how they gave Canfield some problems on defense, and trying to emulate what they can from Dover's game film.
Not to mention, too, Andy Galt for Cheney is doing very, very well at quarterback, getting better each and every week, and he's starting to open up the pass game a little bit for the Cowboys. And I tell you what, if that pass game opens up now and Cheney has a pass game to go in conjunction with their already very good run game of J.R. Tellington and Jace Austin-Amil, this is going to be a slugfest, because these are 2 teams that can do things very, very similar than if Galt can start connecting through the air.
See, I think this is going to be the big question of the game, because no matter how good Cheney's defense plays, you still have to score to win. And you're looking at a new look offense, because obviously Galt coming in and he's trying to, with a new quarterback comes a little bit of a new identity a little bit. And Canfield's defense might just be the best defense on Cheney's schedule to this point, like flat out.
So it very well could be too.
They have to score. I mean, that's probably at least, I would say, 17, 20 points to win this game. They have to find ways to move the ball and score.
Yeah, absolutely. And you know what? I challenge to say that they have faced 2 very good defenses in Boardman and Fitch, also AAC opponents as well. We know that the Fitch game was everything that could go wrong went wrong, so we don't want to look at that one as much. Almost came away with a victory against Boardman, and almost seems like they beat themselves in that game. And it was a game that they could have, I think, come away against the Spartans. That one, I believe, ended 16-12 in favor of Boardman, but have been able to compete too. And you got to remember, this is a Fitch team. Scored 40+ against Canton McKinley, scored 40+ against Ursuline. Cheney, despite defense being on the field almost the entire time because the offense was basically thrown out there, shot out of a cannon, and it was like, figure it out because Hewlett goes down second drive of the game. That was a defense that held Fitch under 30 points too, and a Fitch offense that got a lot of extra touches, a lot of extra possessions. It was a good defense in Cheney that was still able to hold Fitch under 30. And I know a lot of people don't want to look at that game, but there are positives that you could take from it. Cheney's defense has been really good this year from week 1 of the season all the way till now. That hasn't changed still because they went up against one of the best offenses in Fitch. They're doing so again with Canfield. But if you could hold Canfield again under that 30 threshold, I think you have a really good chance at coming away victorious in this one.
Yeah, and
I think that's the key. It has to be under 30. I think if Canfield scores over 30, I think it's too much.
Yes. Is it going to come down to, I think, the quarterback play, really? Brock Lowry experience there, and Galt trying to find it. He looks like he found it. He's finding a rhythm. But those two are going to lock horns a lot.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, those are the two that are going to be going up against. I mean, it's not them as much locking horns as it is them against the defenses, of course. But
right.
I mean, but I know what you mean. But the defenses, I try to just look at it. I just worry if I'm looking at the perspective of each quarterback's shoes, and if I'm Brock Lowry, that defensive line of Cheney scares me, and I'm looking at the offensive line, and I'm hoping that if I'm Brock Lowry, that my guys have my back, because if they start getting pressure, these aren't small guys on Cheney's defensive line. And if they tackle you and if you get sacked, you're going to feel it. So you want to make sure that you have good protection up front. And as far as Canfield's defense, if they could force the turnovers, we've seen Andy Galt has been a lot sharper too since week 1, but we saw 3 interceptions too week 1 against Fitch. If Canfield, again, if he's trying to attack that secondary at all, the biggest thing with Canfield, you have some very good pieces, I think, all around defensively. And I think if Canfield can really utilize their secondary to try to create turnovers, they have a great chance too, because I think Canfield definitely has the edge as far as defensive secondary is concerned. And I think that's the biggest thing that you're going to have to see from them. I mean, Toby Smith is on the defensive line, and he's going to be huge, but I want to see what Canfield's secondary is able to do against Galt, because you might see them trying to really go up press coverage too on defense.
By the way, we just lost Ty. That's not good. Richie and Gary Niddle will have the call of that game as Ty bounces back. Ty scared me for a minute. I thought I was gonna have to come down the stretch. Richie's gonna be on that call, which is always just makes everything better.
Yeah, absolutely. It'll be a great game too. And I mean, exciting game tomorrow night. I would definitely, if you can make it in attendance, you want to see this one in person, I think, because I think it's going to be a fun one.
You know, I'm looking at the Canfield and what they can do against this Cheney defense. And I think you're right. I think the secondary is going to be tested. But I think it's going to be how the secondary is tested and what kind of things Canfield does scheme-wise to test this Cheney secondary. Correct me if I'm wrong, because you called their game against Fitch. They usually play like one single high safety and then bring up the other guys to closer to the line of scrimmage, right? I mean,
they usually, Cheney's a team that likes to stack the box as much as they can, and they run a lot of blitzes. It seems like
not a lot of 2 deep safeties, right? I mean.
Not a whole lot. I mean, you'll see it in, I think, some coverages too for Cheney, obviously, but I think they typically love stacking the box because they have a good defensive line, they have a good linebacking core.
And I bring back fundamentally, I mean, I don't want to try to compare a professional game to a high school game, but fundamentally, we saw a handful of NFL teams scheme against single high safeties this week with mobile quarterbacks. We saw Arizona do it. We saw Kansas City do it. We saw Seattle do it. What you do is you simply move the pocket to one side. The defense is going to flow to whatever side you move the pocket to. And then you put one receiver on the opposite side of the field and run a crossing route. And obviously he's going to be locked up. That quarter's going to let him go. He's going to be one-on-one with the safety. Might be a favorable matchup if Canfield can scheme that, come up to the line of scrimmage, see that they have a single high safety, and run some plays where they get the pocket to move. Because if you move the pocket, you're going to flow the defense to one side and then take that receiver on the opposite side of the field, run across, and you'll probably get him one-on-one with the safety, which with Canfield's receiving room, one-on-one with the safety is a favorable matchup.
Yeah, absolutely. But if you're on Cheney's side of things, that means that Canfield has to hold that pocket as it's moving.
Right.
And if you're Cheney, again, it goes back to, can you get penetration without the blitz with your 3 defensive linemen that are your core on the defense this year? And that's the thing. If Cheney is getting pressure immediately, if that Canfield line isn't able to give Lowry enough time for that crossing route play to even happen, because you still have to get there, that it has to get into motion. And if Cheney's pressuring Lowry right out the gate, it's going to spell nightmares for him the whole night. I'm curious to see, because, I mean, we know it's a battle in the trenches almost every game you talk about, but this one more so than ever. And it's more about just pass coverage as that I'm more curious about, because I don't think there's going to be a whole lot of run success in this game. Pass coverage is what I'm curious about.
And with Cheney's athleticism, once again, you've seen their defense, so correct me if I'm wrong. I'm just going off of the few times I've seen them highlighted. They play a lot of man-to-man, like straight up, we're going to bump coverage you on the line and really rely on their athleticism on the outsides. So Canfield's receivers are going to have to win a lot of one-on-one battles on the outside of the numbers.
I'll just put it to you this way. Fitch has had a very good running attack this whole season with Tyree Mitchell and DJ Williams. Week 1 of the season when they played Cheney was one of the only weeks I've seen them almost completely contained. I mean, they still got their runs, but I mean, Cheney, as far as defensively against the run game, played him better than any other school I've seen play him this year. So I think Cheney too. I mean, same thing with O'Horo and Boardman. I think did a fantastic job containing him in that one. It's a very hard team to run against. And if you can't run the ball, you're going to have to pass it. That's where it's going to come down to. It's Cheney's defensive line. Can you pressure Brock Lowry? If you're Brock Lowry, can you get the ball to your guys?
That's another big thing, because Canfield not going to be able to probably run super successfully, but they still have to stay patient with that run game. Because if they don't, you got to still make Cheney respect it. Know you're going to do it. And you might get 2 yards per carry, but you got to stay patient with it. You got to keep going to it and let that run game set up your pass.
Well, yeah, you have to keep them off balance, because if you make this Cheney team, or if you just make that, if they force you into being a one-dimensional offense, you're not going to pull off a victory against them. They're too good on the defensive front to do so. That even them with their secondary questions being what they are, they can game plan to just stop the pass if that's all you're going to do. So you have to still try to run the ball against this Cheney team. But it's going to be interesting to see what schemes and what blocking schemes they come out with. Canfield does, of course, and Coach Pav in this situation, to see what they come up with to create offense, at least on the ground game against this Cheney defense, because they're big, they're physical, and they're fast. They're very hard to break that first line.
I think sneakily, just to wrap this one up, this one is going to come down to which play caller on offense is more patient.
Very well could be. Very well could be. And I think you have 2 of the best area coaches, and Coach Pav and Coach Emil, going at it as well too. So I mean, great coaches that we love too so dearly on this show, and we have our interviews with them as well. We know Richie does a great job with Coach Pav. We've had Coach Emil on a couple of times. He's been on prime time. We love Coach Emil as well. I mean, this is just a great matchup by 2 great programs this week.
Hey, who knows? Maybe we'll get Richie on tomorrow to talk more about this matchup.
That'd be great too, when we have if we're going to be diving back into our other pick'ems too, outside of the final score.
Right. When you look at it, the next matchup, I want to talk about 2 teams, both 2-2, both right there, kind of competitive, trying to make that next step. Crestview, Liberty, MVAC matchup. First MVAC matchup for Liberty, because last week's was canceled. This is going to be a fun one, I think. I think it's going to be one of the more competitive games of the week.
Yeah, and you know what, with Liberty too, coming off of, or you mean the week prior, I'm assuming, because, well, yeah, you mean the week was canceled. I'm sorry, they played Rootstown. I thought you said the week was canceled. No, you said the conference game. I'm sorry. So yeah, the week still went on. Liberty unfortunately couldn't come off, but it was a very close game, 24-20 against Rootstown. We all know that what Crestview did in their game too, just absolutely a show too, against Campbell, as Cusick was able to find it offensively, and they looked like the Crestview Rebels of old. And looking at these two teams too, I mean, this is actually a really good matchup, like you said, of defenses going up against each other. And really, this is a very young, very up-and-coming Liberty defense going up against Anthony Cusick, still one of the better quarterbacks in the entire area. Of course, he lost a lot of his pieces from last year, but still proving that he can get it done on the football field. It's going to be a very good matchup to see what Cusick can do against this defense of Liberty that is revamped and is completely had a huge makeover. I mean, you look at their defensive line is superb with 3 seniors, again, very similar to Cheney, where you got Tremendous Watson, LeBrylan Wilson, Zach James, all of them 3 huge pieces on the defensive line. And you have Dante Venters, too, as your senior linebacker. So you got 4 seniors that make up this defense of Liberty. And I mean, Youngstown style football, it must be, because that's what we're seeing from Liberty. That's what we see from Cheney, too. It's that very tough, physical, and very sizable defensive line that is going to be so hard to run against. Good thing is, though, is that Cusick can throw the ball through the air, and he is very talented at doing so. It was a part of a Crestview offense that averaged almost 36 points per last season, and he still has one of his targets in Jack Yerke. And as long as Yerke is healthy, Cusick has one of those weapons, too, that's going to create fits for that Liberty secondary. But this Liberty secondary has been pretty good this season. I'm curious to see on what they do to try to contain Yerke, because he's one of those guys that if you let him beat you, they can. So if him and Cusick are connecting all night, you're going to see another one of those 47-point performances from that offense, because that when they have that mojo and they have that connection, they're going really strong. So I think it's huge for Liberty. If you can obviously force turnovers, obviously win the turnover battle, you win most games. But I think it's vitally important that Liberty has to force at least a turnover on this Crestview offense tonight.
Both teams with running backs that I think are going to be highlighted in this matchup. Venters for Liberty, and then a kid that's kind of coming on the scene with authority every week, seems to be getting more and more touches, more and more stats. Rockland Batura for Crestview. Last week, not only did he lead them in rushing, he also led them in the receiving category. He was Cusick's favorite target. So he's coming out of the backfield in the passing game. I believe he had 7 catches, a couple of touchdowns for Batura out of the backfield. So Batura and Venters, both dynamic backs, both guys that can bruise you. We know how big and tough Venters is, but don't sleep on the fact that they can both come out of the backfield and be dynamic receivers in the passing game. Something you don't see a lot in high school, by the way.
Yeah, absolutely. And we, of course, know Batura, too, a very good linebacker as well, and the defensive side of the ball, too. But a part of that Crestview defense, too, that was number 1 in the area, a team that allowed just over 12 points per last season, a team that did not let many teams score against them. And I mean, it was also a team that it's bringing back to Cameron Dickey, who's your big defensive edge on the line, as well as you have Daniel Fitzgerald too in the defensive backfield. And I mean, that's a big thing with Crestview. They did lose a lot on defense, but they still have seniority and leadership in every area of the football field. And I think that's going to be important going into this game. I think it might be, like you said, Anthony, there's going to be a lot of defense that's going to be played in this game. You're going to see both defensive teams that are very, I think, solid this year come out. But I also wouldn't be surprised if you see this one start to get into the upper echelons of the high 20s, maybe low 30s as well, because I think both these teams are very capable of scoring, especially if turnovers start to become a factor and they're working with short field position.
Yeah, and you know, one of the things about these two teams is, especially with Liberty, they got to find a way to put together a complete game. We saw them look really good in the fourth quarter last week, but they were down 24-7. They never say die, but at the same time, I'm sure Coach Simon is looking at that tape saying, we got to play from quarter 1 to quarter 4. And Crestview has had that problem a couple of times this year, especially the first 2 weeks. They didn't start off great, and they obviously came on in the later quarters and looked more productive. So both teams looking to be consistent throughout the game from quarter 1 to quarter 4.
Yeah, I'm curious to see what these teams decide to do too at the opening coin flip. With Crestview being on the road, you likely think that with both teams trying to struggle to score offense, especially early on, they might take the ball right out of the gate and just try to go out there and get some points. You might also see Liberty do the same thing, even with home field advantage. They might try to get out there, get some points, and have that crowd behind them and just play defense what they're best at this season. I think it's the biggest thing. Whoever can strike first in this game and play off the coattails of their defense is going to have a huge advantage to start, I think.
It's amazing how similar these teams are, and I think it's one of the reasons why we picked this matchup. You look at their offenses, both of them have quarterbacks that can be very efficient, but they're not asked to put the game on their shoulders. They're not Vinny Malone throwing 40 times a day. They're throwing maybe 20, 25 times, but being very efficient with those 25 throws in DC Farrell and Anthony Cusick. So both offenses are really pretty balanced, and that makes them really hard to game plan against.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's what I was saying. You might see this game go in the high 20s, low 30s because they are both very balanced approaches on both offense and defense. Yeah. I mean, this is as close, I think, to just a good all-around football game that you're going to get in the area. One team that doesn't really have a specialty in any area, or one that doesn't really have X factors loaded in one area of the field. They just have good, talented high school football players on both sides of the field everywhere. So it's going to be a good matchup, I think, and it's going to be one where whoever wins this one, I think, is really putting themselves in a good position to make the playoffs then at the end of the season.
And that's one of the reasons why I think this is also such an interesting matchup, because it could go into the 30s, like you said, but I also wouldn't be shocked if it was like a 20-20 or a 22 to 17 or a very low scoring side of the spectrum game, because both defenses are pretty good.
Yeah, absolutely. And like I said, that's why it makes it intriguing, because of how good the defenses are. If they're forcing turnovers and making offenses work out of short fields, you might have some more scoring. It's going to be interesting to see how this game devolves and how clean of football both teams play. And I think it's pretty true in almost any game that if you win the turnover battle, more times than not, you're going to win the game. But I think it's almost a guarantee in this one. Whoever wins the turnover battle is almost guaranteed to win, just because of how good both defenses are.
I tell you, I am on the fence for this one. I mean, it might be a midnight hour pick for tomorrow's pick'em, because I don't know. I don't know which way to lean. They both look so similar. They're both almost identical in what the offensive schemes they use. It's going to be a tough one to pick.
First 2 weeks of the season, Liberty was like here and Crestview was here, and now it's flipped for the last 2 weeks of the season, where it's like, so is Liberty going to start to figure it out a little bit again, get back to what was working? Is Crestview on a run? Who knows? We'll have to figure out what we pick tomorrow. Of course, tune into that show. We'll have all of the pick'ems for the week, and we'll pick some other categories outside of this score too for some of these games as well.
And for now, we are going to take our next break of the day. And we'll be right back with more in-depth previews of Week 5 on Running Point, brought to you by Greenwood Chevrolet in Austintown.
We are there in your community. Small business owners, mechanics, police officers, homemakers. And we are there serving our nation in the Air Force Reserve. When medical emergencies arise, in cybersecurity, when natural disasters happen, we are there in space. We are Reserve Citizen Airmen, and we are there with over 180 different jobs to serve your country. Air Force Reserve.
At Greenwood Chevrolet, shop with confidence knowing we're ready to go the extra mile for you. With the largest selection of used vehicles in the Valley, backed by the Greenwood Advantage Warranty. Only at Greenwood Chevrolet.
My guy keeps it 100% of the time. He wants all 100, won't settle for 99. And it's more than stats, because there's people in those numbers. And I was one of the lost sheep. I'm so glad he cares for all 100. I'm 100% safe, 100% free, 100% love. I can be 100% me. He gave all 100 when they put him up on that tree. That's 100% passion for 100% free. So if I play in front of 100, or if I play in front of 2, there's an audience of 1 getting 100% of what I can do.
WRS Wealth Advisors is the area's premier wealth and retirement specialist. With our combined 70 years experience, WRS Wealth Advisors is the area's premier wealth and retirement specialist. Call 330-965-0370 to learn more about our individual and corporate financial planning services, or visit wrswealth.com. Good luck, athletes.
News doesn't stop after the sun goes down. Sometimes you just have to hustle to get it. At 21 News, no matter how far it is, no matter what it takes to get there, we're working to bring you the best stories and the freshest content at 11 p.m. with the context and clarity that makes it worth staying up for, no matter what time it is. 21 News at 11 with me, Aaron Simonek, and Derek Steyer.
21 News at 11, news that's worth your time.
Coca's Pizza, proud to announce our pizza buffet's back every Wednesday at our Boardman and Campfield locations. Adults only $7.99 and kids only $4.99, and $2 beers starting at 8 o'clock. That's Coca's Pizza. We serve it hot.
Every customer has a story, whether it's buying a car for the first time, helping them get approved, or finding the perfect car for their budget. I'm proud that people trust me with their story. I'm Tracy, and I'm ready to go the extra mile for you, only at Greenwood Chevrolet.
Hi everyone, this is DJ Yoakley with Your Sports Network. We appreciate your support of YSN and welcome you to the YSN family. Our broadcast streams are brought to you live at no cost to you by sponsors that are local to this community. Without the vision and generosity of our sponsors and partners, we would not be able to bring this game to you today. So please support the great businesses and leaders that are making this game possible. And if you're a business in need of great advertising and sponsorship opportunities, feel free to head over to our site for more information on the right fit for you. We are local, we are loyal, and we are live. We are YSN.
Ah, the details. Baird Brothers Fine Hardwoods is one fine ride. Perfect cornering, superb handling, sporty and stylish, power to spare, plus awesome mileage. Yeah, jaw-droppingly beautiful lines and well appointed with luxurious trim. Put more oomph in your life and start beholding the molding. Find your home's fine hardwood at BairdBrothers.com.
Welcome back to the Thursday edition of Running Point on YSNLive.com, brought to you by Greenwood Chevrolet in Austintown. I want to remind everybody the comments section brought to you by Boardman Mitsubishi is live. During that DJ Williams interview that was pre-recorded, we heard from Mark Roth, and we let his comment pop up. He says he's a beast, and feed the nest, hashtag feed the nest, which has been Fitch's battle cry since TJ Parker took over last year. So we want to hear more from you guys as this show goes on. Well, another thing we want to hear more of is about this matchup between United and Latonia. We've only seen Latonia one, but guess what? It is also the matchup that the EOAC kind of came down to last year. And, fingers crossed, knock on wood, Latonia gets back in time to get their whole EOAC schedule finished. So we could be looking back on this matchup at the end of the year saying it was pivotal in the EOAC.
Very well could be, and you mean just happy for Latonia to get back out on the football field and do what they've been able to do best too. And I mean, it's been nice to see them after a few week hiatus before they got to even start the season that they've been able to get out. And what we've noticed too from Latonia's offense is they actually have a pretty good offense, and we're excited that they did return because Guido being your quarterback, you got McCool and Miller McCool as your wide receiver, Miller a great fullback that is just huge. LJ Rose on the offensive line. This is a team that can have a lot of success this year, and it's a team that scored a ton of points, over 30 per game last season. Obviously, yeah, you don't have Marco Ferri anymore, and that's going to be an issue, and you have to try to figure that out elsewhere. But I think Latonia is going to be just fine with the pieces they have, mostly because they have a lot of great players on defense, players that play both ways. We know both McCool and Miller playing linebacker, LJ Rosa defensive line. So these two-way players that are very talented, and it's going to be a very talented team in the linebacking and defensive line core. It's going to be very hard to run up against them. And I think that's part of what is going to make Latonia so tough in a very run-heavy EOAC this season. Now, looking at United, though, on the other side of things, United, one of those three teams that was tops in the EOAC last year, one of those three teams that tied for tops as well. So you're looking at a team that I think is bringing back probably the most out of those three teams that tied. Southern's up there as well, but I mean, you're looking at a team that's bringing back a lot on offensive line. I mean, yeah, you don't have Brutus Ogilvie anymore, and that's going to hurt, but I mean, Lincoln Ermson has become a great running back for them too. Grant Knight is fantastic as well, so is Nick Hardgrove. So there's pieces still on this team and a lot of fantastic athletes on the team as well. And you look at the defense too. You look at the guys that play two ways, guys like Grant Knight that's good at defensive back, guys like Ermson that is really good at defensive end, Caden Marshall that's a good linebacker. They have pieces everywhere, and it's a part of a defense that was really good last year, held opponents again under 20 points per. And this season, they look to do much of the same, I think, on both offense and defense. And what I'm curious, I think, the most about United is seeing how they're going to react to that very run-stoppable Latonia defense that has a lot of size on that defensive line. Yet again, very good linebackers too. And I mean, you got two huge linebackers, two huge pieces that are going to fill the gaps. A little bit different trying to attack that style of defense where a lot of the strength is congregated in the linebacking core, instead of the defensive lines. Because now you got two guys that are going to be filling holes, and those are the guys that are going to be going head-on-head with your backs the whole night.
You know, one of the things that I really like about this United team, a lot of players on this team that don't necessarily get into the big stat sheet. They're not superstars. They're not making huge plays every week. They just show up. They do their job, whatever it is that week, and they don't care if their name's in the recap or not. They just kind of do what they're supposed to do, and sometimes that job changes from week to week. It's a team full of role players, and sometimes that can be used as a negative, in a negative context. Oh, you're a role player. This is a positive context for United when you say it's a team full of role players, because they all accept their roles, whatever it is that week. They all can change their roles week to week, and they all execute their roles so well to the point where a lot of the names go unseen. Like there are a lot of names that aren't really being talked about in the area because you don't have guys going for 300 yards every night. You don't have people blowing up the stat sheet, but that's because they have a team that is full of players that are just doing their job.
What I'm actually interested to see, I think the most interesting thing that we haven't even talked about with this game, you're looking at a Latonia team that didn't even start their season till late. You're looking at a United team that's game got canceled last week against Valley Christian. Yep. Both these teams should be very close to 100%. If they aren't already. So you're looking at two teams that basically are going to have full strength rosters. This is basically a week one matchup. So you're going to get all that excitement in a week one matchup, and just players are healthy. You're going to get their 100%. They're pretty much in the same boat right now. Both are rested up. You would figure coming into this week, and they should be good, ready to go. This should be a very fun matchup, I think, and you're going to see both teams really amped up and ready to go this week, especially United too, losing what they lost last week, and Latonia still has to be amped up because they feel like they got gypped out of a whole beginning of their season.
Yeah, and Derek is on to be on the call for that one. We're excited for it. It should be a pivotal matchup inside the EOAC. It was last year. We think it will be this year, especially because now United, we didn't talk about it, but United is going to be down a game in the standings because they can't play Valley now.
Yeah, and it's going to be interesting too. And of course, we know where Latonia is going to be standing. Where the playoff situation is going to stand at the end of the season is really going to be interesting. We obviously don't know if it's going to stand.
So much up in the air. I mean,
yeah. And we might see it completely open up, and I still kind of think we will before the year's out. That I think this whole season will open up, or the playoffs are going to almost have to open up. But we will continue to see. But I do think, as far as EOAC play is concerned, I'm curious to see if Latonia can keep on keeping on with what they've been able to do. And I want to see what this program's able to do on offense and defense, because we really haven't had a lot of time to see them. We've seen what United can do. We've seen what Southern can do. Those were your big three teams in the EOAC last year. Let's see if someone can take the flag by the pole and say, no, we are the sole holders this year. I don't want to see any ties in the EOAC. I'm just curious to see who's going to break off and when.
This isn't soccer. We don't tie. When you look at it, we had the news last week that Jefferson and Niles were canceled. Jefferson picking up Strongsville. Another cancellation per Dana Bolish. He tweeted this out yet last night. East Liverpool and Harrison Central no longer on the schedule. East Liverpool having to cancel that because they have a COVID protocol. So no game from that point of view from East Liverpool this week.
At least East Liverpool is not like that team up north and doesn't try to dodge their rivals. And they went out and they faced the Beaver local team. And you know what? It was actually a very good game. But I mean, all joking aside, obviously, we obviously hope the best for that East Liverpool program. Hope that all the kids are healthy too, and any cases that are congregated within that football team get some rest, get back out on the field, and stay healthy too.
And of course, that probably puts a little bit of strain on Beaver local. They're probably making sure all their T's and I's are crossed because they were the opponent last week. So they want to make sure that they're not, nothing's wrong with them. So we haven't heard anything from Beaver local. They're still set to go. But East Liverpool, Harrison Central is canceled tomorrow night.
We know for sure, too, come hell or high water, Coach McKenzie, or not Coach McKenzie, his son, rather, Mikey McKenzie, will be in a hazmat suit if he has to be. He'll be calling that Beaver local game.
I think Coach Mike McKenzie might be in a hazmat suit to coach in, too.
I mean, come hell or high water, I guarantee you the McKenzies are going to be at that Beaver local game.
Another game that we want to kind of talk about real quick because it's a big matchup, not YSN versus YSN, but Ursuline getting another test against Warren Harding. It's like another test for Ursuline. Shocker. It's like a finals week for them. Yeah, you have a test today. You have a test next week. You have a test next week. It's another one for the Irish against the Raiders of Warren Harding.
Yeah, and you know what? You take a look at the Raiders, their schedule and their record, and you might scoff it off, but I'm not here because they're not wise, and I'm not here to disrespect the Warren Harding Raiders because as a Falcon alumni, we faced off against the Raiders a few times, and Warren Harding's always been kind of like that thorn in the side of the Falcons and a lot of area teams for a while because there's no doubt they have fantastic programs, and Coach Arnold with the Raiders is a fantastic coach over there with Warren Harding, and I think Steve Arnold just does a fantastic job. But getting into this is an offense too, or a team that, much like what we see teams like Mooney in them, they schedule up a lot. You're talking about a team that's already faced a Hudson and a Maslin team already this year, just barely lost to that Maslin team 49-46 last week, but gave them everything that they have. And I think that's another thing you're going to see with this Ursuline team. And one of the areas I want to see Ursuline really sure up, because what I saw a lot too, firsthand wise against the Falcons, Ursuline's got to figure out something against that run defense, and they're going to need to figure it out fast because this is a Warren Harding team that absolutely torched the Falcons to run defensively wise last year on the run game in the playoffs. That's exactly what they went to attack first, and they found so much success in the run game. And Coach Arnold does an incredible job game planning and creating schemes to open up run pockets for his guys. And not to mention too, Warren Harding, I believe, and what they're bringing back is a couple of those very good running backs as well. So we look at their offense and just some names that they're bringing back. Bryson Powell was one of those guys that came out of the woodwork and was huge. Marco Paterno too, another one of those halfbacks that are going to be huge, and they kind of use them in conjunction, and they're going to get a lot of the carries. And I think the biggest thing that Ursuline's going to have to figure out is just ways you can contain them. You can't have these guys beating you because they can, and they will, and they'll put up monstrous numbers of yards. But the good thing with Ursuline, now that I'm done talking about what they need to improve on, Ursuline's offense is absolutely dynamic, especially with DeMarcus McElroy having the game he did against Fitch, 300 plus yards, 4 touchdown touchdown performance. It was absolutely incredible. One of the best rushing performances I've ever been in person to see in my life. And I will say that in conjunction with the passing game of Brady Shannon and the weapons they have is absolutely astonishing. You got to remember, too, in that game where Ursuline came out and beat Fitch in what is arguably going to be game of the year in a very close-knit game, Dean Boyd did not have a single catch or even, I believe, a target the whole night. And if Ursuline is beating some of their best teams and Dean Boyd is covered, double covered, Dan Evans III did a great job for Fitch covering him up and not letting him get a lot of looks. But if they don't even have to utilize one of their top targets, and another one, and you want to know another fun stat too, you looked at that, the fact that Dean Boyd wasn't there. Ja'Kylan Irving, I think, had maybe one catch that night. So you take number 1 and number 2 out of the system, and they're still beating some of the best teams in the area. That's a scary thought for that Ursuline offense. I just want to see that defense come around a little bit because we know what Coach Arnold and his guys are going to be able to do on the offensive side of the ball, especially if they're getting those holes to run in. And I guess the biggest thing too, going up against the Harding defense, they're battle tested. They're a defense that didn't allow more than 20 points per. I think it was actually right around 17, and it's a defense that's bringing a lot back. Morale Brown, Kurt Dorsey, Devontae McElroy, Marco Paterno, Bryson Powell, so many guys in the defensive back department too. Bryson Powell is a big one there, as well as Kurt Dorsey. You have a few linebackers as well. It's going to be a fun matchup because this is a team that is designed to go against Ursuline defensively, and Ursuline feels like the type of team that is designed to go up against them offensively. So we'll have to see what gives in this one.
Yeah, that Ursuline defense has been walking a tightrope all season with, the Bishop Hartley, they made a big 4th down stop. With Fitch, they stopped him on a 2-point conversion at the end. You got to wonder how long that tightrope is in a hole. At some point, it's going to come back to – I mean, it actually did come back to bite them against
the biggest thing is it's not even that the defense is playing bad. It's just they take a little bit too long to figure it out. It's that 4th quarter crunch time. They've been phenomenal this year. But you saw it too, and what you have to avoid doing, look at what Chardon did. If Harding puts up early points like every team. Hartley was able to do it. Fitch was able to do it. Scoring came a lot easier early on in the game against the Irish, and it kind of tailed off and became harder as the game goes along. Harding's defense is very good. You don't want Harding, much like Chardon was able to. If they get a big lead on you and you have to play catch-up, that's the exact thing you want to avoid if you're Ursuline in this situation.
Yep, ketchup is for burgers and hot dogs, not for coming back on the football field. So
no, it's not. I mean, they're built for it. They're able to do so. They have a team that's able to do it. But
that was so cheesy. I'll just let myself out.
Yeah, oh my God, I could go down another path with that one too, but I don't want to. No. I don't want to go even further down that.
No, that was easy.
But no, I think this is going to be a great matchup between two very good offenses, and I think the biggest question too that I haven't even talked about with Harding's offense. I think the biggest one too you have to look at. They don't have Elijah Taylor anymore, and Elijah Taylor, record setter in almost everything for that football team. It starts and ended with him, and Coach Arnold will tell you that, and he told me that various times last year with that offense. It started and ended with Taylor, and not having that guy behind center, you see already the struggles that Harding's had this season going up against those big teams. But Harding is one of those teams that doesn't stay down for long, and if Ursuline's just simply looking at that record, you're going to be sorely mistaken. But we know what Coach Reardon does, and it's a no nonsense attitude over there in Ursuline. So those boys will be ready.
It'll be a fun one. Ian and Trey will have the call from Mollenkoff Stadium in Warren. It should be a fun one tomorrow night. We're going to take our last break of the day, and we'll be back to wrap this show up next on Running Point, brought to you by Greenwood Chevrolet in Austintown.
It's a new year at Acura of Boardman and Boardman Mitsubishi with huge savings on over 350 fully inspected vehicles. We have cars, trucks, SUVs, minivans, and work vehicles. We don't have it, our team will find it. We aim for 100% credit approval with payments as low as $99 per month. And as always, we'll pay top dollar for your trade. For a great vehicle and a great experience, come see why everyone is stopping by at Acura Boardman and Boardman Mitsubishi.
60 years ago, Baird Brothers Fine Hardwoods began with 3 siblings, a hand-set sawmill, and a few local orders. And while business has certainly changed over the years, what has not are our principles of hard work, craftsmanship, and commitment to quality. At Baird Brothers, we're proud to put our name on the products we create, from moldings and doors to flooring and lumber. Thank you for 60 great years. We look forward to 60 more. Baird Brothers, for the place you love.
You're looking to your future, preparing for your goals, and they're closer than you think. Because here, success is part of the plan. It's a place where academic and social opportunities are meant to prepare you for life, not just the next 4 years. You'll be equipped to face new challenges and turn hard work into a career. You're ready for your success to take root. And here's where it starts. We are Youngstown State University, and proud.
Right now is a great time to get more for your trade-in at Tri-State Ford. Choose a new Ford or from our great selection of pre-owned vehicles. Plus, you'll get the Tri-State Ford Advantage, including a 10-year, 200,000-mile warranty and more. At Tri-State Ford, we'll pay you top dollar for your trade, but you don't have to purchase one of ours to sell us yours. Customer-focused, community-driven. Tri-State Ford, East Liverpool, or visit tristateford.net.
Welcome back to Running Point on YSN Live, brought to you by Greenwood Chevrolet in Austintown. Anthony Hartwig, Ty Bartell, wrapping this buddy up. We want to thank Sammy Kelly and Matt Britton for joining us live on the show. Also want to send a shout out to DJ Williams for giving us his time last night. We heard from all 3 of those guys today. Tomorrow on the show, it's Pick'em Friday, so we will be all football, picking every game from week 5. Richie Giuliano will be joining us in the first hour. Maybe we get some picks from him. He'll be breaking down the Canfield-Cheney game as well. So it should be a fun Friday from 12 to 2. Casual Sports Podcast is next from 2 to 3. And then the Power Hour, 3 to 4, live from Poland High School. Prime time, 4 to 5. Poland High School. They'll break down South Range Poland on YSN.
Richie and Ty on YSN Live?
Maybe that'll be some big things. We're out of here. We're taking a 22-hour break as I don't want to push that any further. We'll see you tomorrow.
We'll see you all tomorrow, too. Looking forward to it.